Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today for the National Environmental Public Health Internship Program Application Workshop for Students. On behalf of the National Environmental Health Association, I want to say thank you, and we're excited that you want to learn more about the program and the possibility of becoming a NEPHIP intern. So first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Adrienne Gothard. I am a program analyst here at NEHA, and I am joined by my colleague Jennifer Wells, who is a project coordinator, and we are going to be your main points of contact for NEPHIP. And so we're very excited about telling you about the program and the possibility of working with you. And so today we're just going to share some specifics about the NEPHIP program, the application, the timelines. We'll obviously answer any questions that you might have. We're going to hear from some of our former interns, but please know that you can email us at nephip@neha.org at any time with questions. So before we jump into information about NEPHIP, I wanted to provide a brief introduction to the National Environmental Health Association, or NEHA. So NEHA is the professional home for people working to protect the public's health and environment. We've been around since 1937, supporting thousands of members in government, industry, and academia. And our mission is to build healthy environments, protect communities, and empower professionals through education, credentials, and advocacy. We offer nationally recognized certifications like the REHS-RS and the CPFS, ongoing training, mentoring, and a strong professional network. When you join NEHA, you're not just joining an association, you're joining a community that helps you grow, connect, and make a difference. And I also wanted to share a few exciting things coming from NEHA's work with students. So it's estimated that about 40% of professionals in the environmental health workforce today plan to leave their jobs in the next few years. So our focus on students is a key part to building the next generation of a workforce who is trained and prepared to protect communities from emerging environmental health threats. So just several of the things that we have going on. We have our annual undergraduate and graduate scholarships, which gave out more than $22,000 last year. We have our student research competition, which awarded an undergraduate and graduate winner with small cash stipends and covered travel to our annual education conference this year. We have several environmental health grand rounds per year, including some campus grand round seminars that are specifically designed for students. Today, of course, we'll be discussing NEPHIP internships, and we also provide a lot of different career skill building resources for students and early professionals. So if you're not yet a member, becoming one is quick and easy. Just scan the QR code on this slide, or I think Jennifer can pop the, oh, she already did, pop the link into the chat. And we'd love to have you as part of the NEHA community, and student memberships are only $10 annually. So we hope that you will join us. All right, so now I'm excited to dive in and talk about the National Environmental Public Health Internship Program, or NEPHIP. So we have two very important partners for this NEPHIP project. The first is our funding entity and primary partner, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's Water, Food, and Environmental Health Services branch. Our other partner is the National Environmental Health Science and Protection Accreditation Council, which is also known as EHAC. So NEPHIP is offered exclusively to students who are enrolled in environmental health degree programs that are accredited through EHAC. So to check to make sure that your academic program is EHAC accredited, please check out the links that Jennifer just dropped into the chat. And then, of course, NEHA, we have been facilitating this program since 2015, and so far we have supported 304 internships across 154 environmental public health agencies in 39 states and territories. So NEPHIP is a 400-hour internship that places environmental health students with host sites at state, tribal, local, and territorial environmental public health agencies. So through the program, NEPHIP interns are able to meet your internship or practicum degree requirements, earn credit hours for required coursework, and bolster your academic scholarship, and ultimately strengthen your work experience. So the internship is designed to allow students to gain a firsthand perspective on the day-to-day responsibilities of environmental public health professionals, make invaluable connections with those who are already working in the field, and work on an independent project based on the needs of the host program. And ultimately, we would love for our NEPHIP interns to consider careers working in governmental environmental public health agencies following graduation. So students are provided with financial support during the internship, with undergraduates receiving $6,000 and graduates receiving $8,000 to help with expenses like lodging, food, and incidental expenses during the internship. Students who temporarily relocate for an in-person internship experience will be offered an additional need-based relocation allowance to help other costs associated with relocating. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about the internship here in a few minutes, the internship format. So as part of the program, we recruit qualified environmental health students, you all, who are eager to gain field experience, as well as environmental health programs that are interested in hosting EH interns. We then match them based on a variety of factors, including the student's experience and interest and the host site's project portfolio. The program also offers many additional benefits and opportunities for students, including access to several professional development learning sessions, participation in a series of valuable professional career mentorship sessions with current environmental health professionals working in state, tribal, local, and territorial agencies, an automatic one-year NEHA membership for interns, access to an online NEHA community, our main community at large with all of our members, as well as a community group specific for our NEPHIP group, and access to attend our AEC virtually. So now I want to talk a little bit about what to expect during the internship if you are asked to participate in the program and matched with the host site. So the main focus of the internship experience will be an independent project. So this project will focus on a current environmental health problem or challenge that's facing your host program. Project topics can vary across all environmental health services and topic areas, and in the next few slides, we'll hear some examples. We also require the intern to produce a deliverable associated with their project, and your host site will determine what this deliverable needs to be based on your project. But basically, this is really the natural output of the project that you'll be leaving with the host site at the end of your internship. So for example, if you're researching a water quality issue that's a burden for a certain community, the deliverable might be a report based on your findings or a presentation with your recommendations based on your research. We also do ask the interns to submit a copy of their deliverable or deliverables to NEHA at the end of the internship. So this project can be used for you to meet your internship, your university internship requirements, if applicable. You're able to list these projects on your resume or your portfolio. So for examples of the deliverables that recent interns have created, you can check out our NEPHIP experience page. So the second portion of the internship, or the second facet of the internship, is that we ask host programs to provide opportunities for student interns to be exposed to various programs, the different activities and services that are operated by their department or program, to really support knowledge and exposure to various environmental health services and topic areas. So examples include food safety inspections, on-site water and wastewater programs, vector control, emergency preparedness. So we ask that interns are given the opportunity to, for example, shadow with inspectors, have informational meetings with other EH departments, be involved in all of those different areas that the program is operating. So really the goal is a well-rounded experience that results in the students' understanding of the important work that environmental public health programs do for communities and for the public. And we also ask host programs to assign a primary mentor to the intern who would be available to assist in mentoring and assisting the student intern on their independent project on a routine basis through the internship period. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer, who is going to give you some examples of really great previous intern experiences and projects.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. So this is Mackenzie, a student at Colorado State University who had her internship at Jefferson County Public Health Department in Lakewood, Colorado. For her main independent project, she conducted West Nile virus surveillance, which involved mosquito trapping and ID at various collection sites across the county. And the deliverable from this project was a final presentation to department staff at the end of her internship to share her data analysis with the team, which will help inform them of virus prevalence and help drive future surveillance improvements and community education efforts. In addition to her independent project, she also is assisted with the recreational swimming pool inspection program, eventually conducting inspections on her own later in the internship. She also helped look at the correlation between foodborne illness cases and restaurant inspection violations in the county, and also shadowed restaurant facilities, camps, and wastewater routine inspections with other department staff. And we also have Adama, a student at the University of Illinois Springfield, who interned with Clark County Public Health all the way in Vancouver, Washington. His independent project was conducting water samples to monitor E. coli levels and elevated harmful algal blooms at various lakes and other recreational water bodies in the county. The deliverable of this project was an annual report for their water monitoring program that included his data analysis of water sample results, as well as recommendations for improving the program in the future. So in addition to his independent project, he also had the opportunity to assist with public outreach and education tabling at community events. He shadowed the solid waste manager on inspections and site visits, and also shadowed pool and restaurant inspections. So those are just a couple examples of how varied the projects and deliverables can be, and what other potential shadowing opportunities or side projects an intern can participate in. But now I am so excited to introduce two other students who participated in the NEPHIP program and will share a bit more about their own experience. So our NEPHIP alum panelists are Nora Labo and Emily Swope, who were both NEPHIP interns this past summer. So thank you so much for being here. So I will give it over to Nora first to introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Emily next.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Hi guys, I'm Nora. I go to Colorado State University and I'm studying environmental public health. And this summer I interned with Deschutes County Health Department in Bend, Oregon. And my independent project focused on like groundwater sampling throughout the community.
Hi, I'm Emily. Thank you for having me. I'm currently a junior at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. And this past summer, I interned at the Fairfield County Health Department in Lancaster, Ohio. And my major at OU is environmental health science. And over the summer at the Fairfield County Health Department, I got to work mostly with their food program and do a project on improving their food program and adding in some FDA recommendations to their procedures for their restaurant inspections.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here. We'll kind of do the same pattern, Nora first, then Emily. So first question, in addition to your independent project, what other activities were you able to participate in?
Yeah, so I got to do a lot with my internship, which was a ton of fun. I did like a vector control gap analysis, so I got to analyze a lot of the vector control programs that were throughout Central Oregon. I wrote a couple news articles for the monthly public health newsletter on OSHA and harmful algal blooms. I got to shadow a ton of health inspections, which I really loved. I got to shadow the harm reduction team, and I got to go to the NEHA AEC, which was a ton of fun, and I learned so much. And I got to help with a purple air quality monitor placement, which was really fun. So yeah.
Since my project was with the food program, I did kind of a lot of things related to the food program. So I shadowed restaurant and grocery store inspections, and just all the food inspections that the health department did. I shadowed about once or twice a week. I would join an inspector and see what they do. I also worked with the vector program. I helped set up mosquito traps and went on tick drags. And I got to visit the Ohio Department of Health laboratory where they receive the mosquito and tick samples and test them for vector-borne diseases. So that was really cool. And related to the food program, I got to attend a ServSafe class and take the ServSafe exam. And my mentor was saying how that's really helpful for an registered environmental health specialist test and like knowing a lot about food safety. So that was cool. It was related to my project and like future goals of being a REHS.
Awesome. So this one might be a little hard, but what was your favorite part of the internship and why?
Oh, I think my favorite part overall was how much freedom I had with this internship. I really got to like shape it into the experience that I wanted. And so, coming into this internship, I wasn't entirely sure which aspect of environmental health I wanted to focus on because I just found so many different aspects so interesting. So I really enjoyed getting to like talk to my mentor and schedule like every shadowing opportunity I possibly could to kind of experience different aspects of the field. So I'd say that was definitely my favorite.
Kind of similar. I also enjoyed having a lot of freedom. And my mentor and other people that worked there, they were super welcoming to like, hey, I'm going on this inspection. Do you want to join? And if I asked if I could shadow something or watch something, you're like, yeah, come on. And I got to go to the department meetings and I really felt like I worked there. And that was really cool. I felt like I got a peek into what my future could be. So that was really cool. I felt like valued and I got to experience anything really that I asked to experience. They were very welcoming and then inviting me to different opportunities. So it was really cool to like feel like I worked there.
Great. And next, in your opinion, what do you think are the benefits of having an in-person internship?
I think having an in-person internship was so beneficial, especially when it came to the aspect of like working in the office with all of my colleagues, because then I got to like sit down and form like the in-person connections with everyone. I got to like go in when I had downtime. I could talk to my colleagues and like kind of see what their experience was like with the environmental public health field, which was really nice. So overall, I would say it was definitely like the relationships I was able to form with my colleagues and not just like working independently and checking in with my mentor.
I agree. It was really nice to interact in person with different people that worked at the health department and outside places as well. Like when we would go on inspections, I got to interact with the restaurant owners, and that was really cool. Like education opportunities as well, like going out and visiting different sites and like speaking with them. And it was also nice to see just other workers interacting with each other, like not just interacting with me, but like attending some different meetings. I got to see how the vector supervisor interacts with the health commissioner and the food safety supervisor. So it was cool to interact and watch other people's interactions.
That is very cool. So the next couple questions are for you, Nora, because you relocated for your internship. So do you have any tips for other students who might be considering temporarily relocating for an internship?
Yes, I would highly, highly recommend being open to relocating. This was my first time ever living anywhere other than Colorado. So I was a little bit nervous, but I would definitely say just stay flexible, which I know can be very intimidating. But that's what helped me the most. Like I was very willing to like bounce around. When I was figuring out housing opportunities, I reached out to my mentor and she was able to connect me with people. There's also a ton of resources online to find housing opportunities that I was looking at. I know there's like Furnished Finder, you can like get a room for a couple months. I would also say yes to everything. That's how I made a lot of my friends and I got a lot of the opportunities in Oregon. And yeah, just be brave too. It can be so scary, but getting out there and experiencing like what the community has to offer is so rewarding. But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just a quick aside about finding housing. It is the intern's responsibility, but like you mentioned, the host site mentor or other host staff might be able to give really great advice or point you in the right direction to help find some housing. But like Adrienne mentioned, we do offer some financial relocation assistance to those who do relocate, which starts at $500 and helps reimburse things like mileage or flights to help with that physical move. So next question, Nora, outside of work and your internship, what fun things did you get up to while you were there?
Oh my gosh, I got up to so many fun things. I love the outdoors, so Bend was like perfect for me because it's surrounded by like so many hikes. There's so much to do. I got to like float on the river every weekend with my paddleboard, which was awesome. I got to go climbing at Smith Rock, which was like a 30-minute drive from my house, and it was like world class, like top 5 climbing destination in the country, which was amazing. They had a ton of state parks all around, so I got to go hiking and explore those a lot. And then at the very end of my internship, I got to go on a road trip and see like the Oregon coast and the redwoods and Crater Lake, which was amazing. But yeah, I definitely got to do a lot, which was really fun outside of work.
That's so awesome. Glad you got to go there. Okay, so next couple questions back to both of you. So what skills do you feel like you gained or built on during this experience?
I would say the biggest skill that I got to work on was like public education and communication, which I really enjoyed because it can be really intimidating talking to the public sometimes, especially when you're like not as confident or not as sure yet. But it was really cool to like watch my coworkers interact with business owners and kind of see the different strategies that they use when it comes to public outreach and education, especially when you have to like deliver news to a business owner that could potentially be upsetting. It was super cool to see the different strategies that come into play there. It was also really interesting to learn how to use accessible language to explain more complicated environmental health topics. When I was doing groundwater testing for a lot of the people in the community, they had a ton of questions. So it was really nice getting to kind of like slow down and make that language accessible so they could understand what was going on with their water, like possible reasons for testing, what their test results mean. So yeah, I would say overall, I definitely got to help work on some communication skills, which was super rewarding.
A big thing that I got experience with that I didn't really have before was Excel, or just like using Excel more, and then ArcGIS. So just like different computer software programs that health departments use. The Fairfield County Health Department used HealthSpace for their inspectors. So I just got introduced and more experience with like different technology that a health department or agencies like that would use. And then I also felt like I learned like how, I guess, the hierarchy of what goes on in the government. So how like the Fairfield County Health Department, I learned was like under the Ohio Department of Health, which is under the FDA, and then there's the US food code, and then Ohio has its own food code. And just kind of understanding the bigger picture of, I guess, regulations. I got to experience a lot of that working at a health department.
Great. And finally, overall, how did this internship benefit you, and what will you be taking from this experience into your future careers?
Yes, I love this question. Overall, I would definitely say this internship changed my life for sure. Like I said, it was my first time living anywhere other than Colorado, so I feel like I got to make that like first big step into like what my adult life is gonna look like after college, which I loved. It just made me feel so much better about graduating because that can be so scary to think about. I'd say it really shaped what my future career is gonna look like too. It made me realize that I'm not yet ready to like settle down and I want to see what else is out there. It also made me realize how interested I am in water specifically with my independent project. Um, but yeah, overall, I just really enjoyed getting to shadow like all the different aspects of the health department, and it made me realize how much I love health department work and how I would definitely be interested in having a career in local public health. So, yeah.
It was nice to have my coursework like put into practice somewhere. So now like coming back to school after my internship, I'm more excited. Like I'm taking a food safety class next semester and I'm excited about that. It's like, oh, I worked with the food program. And it just puts coursework more into perspective. And working at a health department made me more excited for the future. And I also got to see how many different opportunities there are in environmental health. There's so many different routes you can go, and every day can be different working at a health department. And I really like that. So there's a lot of variety. You can go down food, water, vectors, emergency response, health education. So it was really cool and exciting to see that there's lots of opportunities in environmental health.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here, sharing about your experience, and all of that. So really, thank you so much. If anyone attending today has a question specifically for Nora or Emily, please go ahead and pop those in that Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen. I believe you both can stay till the end, so we'll get to those questions after we finish up our presentation, but thank you again so much. And let's get back
Thank you.
to our presentation. Okay, so now I'd like to talk about some of the application requirements. So as we mentioned, the first requirement is that student applicants must attend an environmental health academic program that is accredited by EHAC. So on the NEPHIP for Students page on NEHA's website, there are links to that list of graduate and undergrad programs. We also put those in the chat. The application has a list of universities and programs for you to select before you can move forward. Just a note that some schools have both a bachelor's and master's program. So just please make sure that you are enrolled in the right program that you select in your application. The program is open to graduate students and undergraduate sophomores, juniors, and seniors who have completed at least 1 year of environmental health coursework. And you must be enrolled during the internship. So, for example, you would not be able to participate in a summer internship if you graduate in the spring. And I know that some of you might be international students, so just know that you are eligible for NEPHIP. We just ask that in the application so we're aware and we can help avoid any delays when it comes to additional steps that you might need to take. So, for example, we require a background check to be completed for all interns, which requires the student to have a social security number. So along with the application, you will need to be prepared to submit a current resume, a current unofficial transcript, and one letter of recommendation from a member of your environmental health program faculty. And you can find a copy of the recommendation form on the NEPHIP website, and it is also linked in the actual application. You'll be asked to answer 4 essay questions, and we will talk more about those in the next slide. And also on the application, we ask several questions about the internship format. So in-person, hybrid, or virtual. For summer sessions, in-person internship formats are given preference. And this is to give you that hands-on experience that will help you to really understand the work of a governmental environmental health agency. Also, many of the programs that apply to be host sites indicate that their projects require an intern to be in person to complete that work. We will have a limited number of host sites that are able to support virtual or hybrid internship experiences. So I just want to emphasize that for the summer, the majority of the available internship positions will be in person, either at a department in your geographic area or in an area where you will relocate. So while we understand that some folks may have extenuating circumstances that limit them from being able to participate in an in-person internship, just know that those virtual positions will be quite limited. Also remember that this is a paid internship that also offers an additional relocation allowance. So like Nora was talking about, this is a really cool opportunity to spend 10 weeks potentially in a place you have never been before, to get really great hands-on experience. And just in the past few NEPHIP sessions, we've had interns relocate to Alaska. Someone went to a really nice beach town on the coast of Florida. We had someone relocate to Tucson, Arizona, right smack in the middle of the beautiful Sonoran Desert. So for this summer session, we have potential host sites all over the country. So again, this would be a really fun experience to go somewhere where you've always wanted to go. There is a question on the application about regional preferences, so you can always let us know where you might want to go. I suggest thinking about like where you have family or friends that might be able to act as your support system, or kind of guide you in the right direction as far as housing and all of that. So if you're flexible about relocating and your location preferences, that helps tremendously when we're thinking through potential matches for you, and we'll probably be more likely to be able to find you a match in the end. So you can access the student application and all supplemental materials on the NEPHIP website. And now I will pass it back to Adrian to go over some more details and tips for the application.
Thanks, Jennifer. So yeah, I'd like to take some time to talk about the ways that you can really make your application stand out. So first and foremost, please make sure that you carefully review the program requirements and details that are provided on the NEPHIP website. We want to make sure that you really understand how the program works before you apply. So along those same lines, it's really important that you read the application instructions and questions carefully to ensure that you're providing the information that's asked for. So as Jennifer mentioned, there are some essay questions. And so these will be things like, what do you hope to gain from this internship experiences? And what qualities and perspectives do you think that you would bring to make you a valuable member of the program? We also are going to ask that you describe a time when you faced a challenge or disagreement with someone, like a supervisor, colleague, or teammate, and how you approached the situation to resolve it. In addition, we're going to ask you how your personal and professional interests align with the purpose and mission of a local, state, territorial, or tribal environmental public health department. So to be able to answer that question, you'll need to know a little bit about what the purpose and mission is, so we do recommend that you do a little bit of research, look up your local health department or a health department in another area, and read about their mission, their programs, and overall what they do for the community. And this will help you write about how you connect with that environmental public health mission and the work that they do. Just a couple of recommendations. Sometimes it's easier to type out your answers in Microsoft Word so that you have access to spelling and grammar assistance, and then paste them back into the SurveyMonkey application. Really make sure that you're answering the question that is asked. So, while a one-sentence answer is definitely not going to be enough to answer the essay question, you also don't need to write a 5-paragraph answer. So your answer should really be in your own words so that we can really see your passion and personality. But feel free to use the resources around you, like sharing your answers with friends, family, academic contacts. That's totally acceptable, and it's a great way to workshop and improve your answers. Just in this day and age, I do want to make a comment on AI use. So we just want to remind everyone that AI resources like ChatGPT are strictly a tool, and you should not just be pasting the essay questions into there and then using whatever it spits out. We can tell you that it's pretty obvious when we're reviewing 50+ applications when folks are doing exactly that. So when people paste the same questions in there, AI is likely going to spit out similar answers that are quite vague and don't really tell us about your personality. So again, please respond to the essay questions in your own words, because that's really what we're looking for. Is we're looking to learn about who you are and how and if you would be successful in this program. As Jennifer mentioned in the last slide, you will be required to submit some supplemental materials. So recommendations for things like your resume, making sure that it showcases all of your relevant work experience, academic coursework, volunteer work, excuse me, any clubs or professional organizations that you're active in, and any of those environmental health related skills that you possess. So like Emily can now list on her resume that she knows how to use ArcGIS. That would be really important things to list on your resume. Again, just the grammar, spelling, and formatting in your resume. We see a lot of resumes and applications. So when someone does have those things, it really does stand out. Or I should say on the opposite side, when it doesn't have those things and we're seeing a lot of errors, that stands out also, and maybe not in the best way. So I really, recommend that you use the resources that are available to you. Career Services Center at your university, I can guarantee you that they are going to offer assistance in things like writing resumes. And another recommendation would be converting your resume into a PDF before you upload it. That's just going to make it appear more professional. And we talked about the letter of recommendation and making sure that you ask a faculty member of your program to submit a letter of recommendation or our form on your behalf. And I will say this is the most commonly missed item when we're collecting applications, and your application will not be considered complete until we receive this piece. And even though they're going to be sending the form or the letter directly to us, it's still ultimately your responsibility to ensure that it is sent to us by the application deadline. And Jennifer is really great about sending reminders. Say you do have all of the other pieces of your application in, but we haven't received a letter. We're going to give you ample opportunity to make sure that we get it before the deadline. But again, it is ultimately up to you to make sure that we get it. Our advice would be to request this early, especially since we're coming up on the holiday season where everyone gets a little bit more busy or unavailable. So ask for those letters of recommendation early if you know you're going to be applying. And also please make sure that you're asking a faculty member that actually knows you and can speak to your accomplishments, your work ethic, and your knowledge in environmental health. Sometimes we get letters of recommendation that basically just say, yeah, this person is in our program, but it doesn't really tell us. They don't know the student well enough to be able to tell us about those kinds of things. So please make sure you're asking a faculty member that knows you. Another thing that can really set a candidate apart is the way that they communicate via email. So even though our program email is nephip@neha.org, remember that there's a person on the other side of that email, and it's usually Jennifer, sometimes it's me. So whether you're emailing about your application or you're responding to a request for an interview, you want to make sure that you're leaving a positive impression. So an email with a greeting, a body that gives context and clear explanations, correct spelling and grammar, having a signature. That's a stark difference from, say, a completely blank email with just an attachment, or a one-sentence email that asks, when will I hear an update? So again, just remember there's a person on the other side of that email, and presenting yourself in a professional way. That also helps to communicate to us that you would be successful in a professional experience during your internship. So through the application itself, email communication, those are all really great ways to set yourself up for success, is just really making sure that you're coming across professionally in all of those scenarios. I'm going to pass it back to Jennifer to talk about some of the specifics of and timelines.
All right, so the student application for the summer 2026 session is open right now. The full application window for summer is from October 15th to February 1st, but we are actually trying out an accelerated timeline for our summer recruitment and matching this year. So students who apply by December 1st will be considered our early action applicant pool, and we will be doing early review in December and January for those who submit an application, and all supplemental materials by that date. So if you are a top candidate in that early action applicant pool, we'll also be reaching out for interviews and beginning to work through the matching process for those top candidates in December and January as well. This is an optional opportunity, but if you apply earlier and you're one of those top ranked candidates, there's a greater chance of being matched earlier and knowing your summer plan sooner. If maybe you need a little more time to think about the opportunity, or more time to do the application, we will absolutely still be accepting student applications for summer until February 1st. And we'll be doing our regular student review and matching process for those who didn't apply early action beginning in February. But no matter when you apply, the final notifications for the selected summer interns and host sites will definitely be communicated by the end of March. And just a reminder, summer internships are 400 hours over 10 to 12 consecutive weeks, starting sometime between mid-May and end of June, and they should all be completed by the end of August. And looking forward to next steps, once accepted students and host sites confirm their intent to participate for the summer 2026 session, you'll work with your host site mentor to determine your internship arrangements. That includes start and end dates, work schedules, and other logistics. In addition to submitting some paperwork for our background check, interns will also be asked to fill out an agreement form with NEHA and to have their academic advisor fill out an agreement form. If there's any additional paperwork or agreements needed by the intern's university or host site, it'll be the responsibility of the intern to connect the host site with the appropriate university contact to complete those steps. And several weeks before internships begin, we will host orientations for all participating interns and host sites to go over the details of the program. And throughout the internship, NEHA staff will be available to support interns and health programs as needed. We send out short check-in forms weekly to help identify any needs and see how things are going. We also set up meetings about halfway through the internship to discuss project progress and performance. And at the conclusion of the internship, the intern will be required to submit their deliverables and also give a short presentation to NEHA staff to describe their experience, highlight their independent project outcomes, and share what they learned. So with that, that concludes the presentation. Thank you all so much for joining us to learn more about NEPHIP, and we really hope to see you apply for summer 2026 or future cohorts. We definitely have some time for questions now. So again, if you have any questions for us NEPHIP staff or our NEPHIP alum, feel free to put those questions in the Q&A function or in chat, and we can start answering some questions.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. I know I saw some good ones in here. So the first question we got here is, are we assigned the project or do we come up with it? So that's a really great question. When host sites apply to NEPHIP, they do provide some ideas of projects that they might have for an intern, but a lot of times we do see those project ideas morph as they, meet their prospective intern and they get to know what their interests are. And sometimes the intern can kind of help influence what the project is going to be and what the deliverable is going to be. The reason I say sometimes is, there are times where host sites apply and they're like, we really need an intern to help complete this priority project. And it's kind of a set thing. But oftentimes there is a little bit of variability. So hopefully that answers the question. In general, the host site will be the ones deciding what the project is going to be and what the deliverable is going to be. But that's not to say that even if your project is preset when you come in, kind of like Nora and Emily did, if they had things that they were interested in, they asked, can I be involved in these types of meetings, or can I shadow in these areas, or could I do a side project here? We definitely see that a lot where interns kind of see a need within a department and they create, projects for themselves. So great question. What else do we have here?
So we have a question about the letter of recommendation requirements, that they did not get it from their professor on time. Like we mentioned, it is your responsibility to make sure that we have that letter of recommendation. We give reminders to give you time. If maybe you're not getting a letter from one person, maybe try to have a backup just in case. If you're unsure if we have your letter of recommendation, you're always welcome to reach out to us at nephip@neha.org. But yes, in order to be considered for NEPHIP, that is a required component of the application.
And I'd say if you're concerned about the letter of recommendation, maybe just go ahead and ask another faculty member if they would be able to commit to getting it in by a certain date. But we definitely will work with you if we see that you are trying. We're not just going to say, sorry, we're going to work with you. So just do your best and ask early, I think, is the big part of that. Good question. It looks like there's a question for Emily and Nora here. Is there anything that surprised you, like in terms of anything you found or learned about how environmental public health departments work?
Yes, I would say I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed shadowing restaurant inspections because that was something I was like not super interested in, and then it ended up being like one of my favorite parts of the internship. So I'd say it was more just like what surprised me was like the things that I ended up really, really enjoying. And then also the things that I wasn't as excited about. Like I thought I'd be really excited about campground inspections, and then it was like my least favorite part of the internship. So I'd say just like keep an open mind because you never know what you're gonna enjoy. Just be ready to do anything. So yeah.
On the same lines with restaurant inspections, before working at the health department, I kind of thought of inspections as like, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and like kind of like maybe mean, I guess, or strict. But it was very educational and very kind. It wasn't like miss here, here, here. It was like, how can we fix this? Or the inspectors would stay and help them move food to a different refrigerator that was working. So it was very like educational. I didn't realize how much like educational and helpful inspections were. It was like, let's come up with a plan to fix this, not just like you got 75%. It's like, let's work through this. And it was very, very nice like interactions, and how restaurant owners or grocery store owners would have questions or recommendations, like how can we improve this system. So it changed my perspective on what inspections are like.
Yeah, it was also really cool to see how the health department functions as a team. Like we had a weekly meeting every week and everyone would kind of go over their inspections. And if they had any questions or wanted advice from any of their colleagues, everyone would kind of go over the situation and see what they could have changed or done differently or better, which I thought was super cool to see.
Awesome. Thank you both. And Emily, one thing you said earlier about being able to see the big picture of how things work within your state or in different areas, I think that's a super important thing that interns learn as well, because not every health department is structured the same. Some health departments, their specialists, their EH specialists are generalists, and they do everything. They do the food inspections, the pool inspections, the vector control. Other maybe bigger health departments, they have different programs and people who just do food or just do pools. So really getting to see that big picture and learn about the structure. And maybe now, I don't know if do you have any idea of like, okay, maybe I would want to be in a bigger location where I could just specialize and do one thing? Or do you know, like, yeah, I want to be somewhere where I get to do everything, so I never get bored and I get to do, different things every day. Did that kind of help you figure out what you want for when you are in REHS?
I think it was nice to know that there's options. So if I wanted to stay in food, I could, but also being a registered environmental health specialist, you're like qualified to do other things. So at the Fairfield County Health Department, one of the food inspectors, she's like, I want to go on a campground inspection today and just join the person that normally does it. But I think I would like variety personally, just to have like stay sharp on like different areas. But I really liked how like learning who the health department reports to, and that kind of opened my eyes to different job opportunities too, like outside of a health department. Like I got to visit the lab that we send our samples to, and so that opened my eyes, like, oh, I could, if someone's not as maybe into like speaking a lot, if you want to be more of like benchtop lab, there's that too. So that was cool. Or the Fairfield County Health Department is like under the Ohio Department of Health, so if there's job opportunities there, or and then they're under the CDC and the FDA. So like it opened my eyes to other places that have employment, like what they do. So it was really cool.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Emily. What other questions do we have, Jennifer?
So we have a question, is independent study compulsory to do during my internship? If you mean the independent project, then yes, that is a requirement of the program. Yeah, so basically that is just, independent project results in something tangible that you can leave behind with your health department that benefits them in the future. That is a really important requirement of this program because we really don't want a really basic low-level experience of just strictly shadowing, paperwork, things like that. We really want you to be involved and get that really great experience with your host site. So yes, that is a requirement.
And I think sometimes the word independent kind of throws folks off. So you're not going to be working in a silo on that project. You're going to have your mentor, you're going to have the other folks on your team. But really, yeah, like Jennifer said, the goal is to have you be able to tackle an environmental health hazard in your in the community of your health department. And so you can put your name on, like, I did this research and it resulted in this for the community. But you're not going to be just in a corner working on your independent project the whole time. So yeah, sometimes that independent word kind of gets people. But hopefully that answers the question.
And we have another question. How long should the essays be? I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. You know, we want you to fully answer the questions. We don't have any requirements about sentences or paragraphs. We want you to fully answer the question. We want to learn things about you. So, you know, a one sentence answer probably isn't going to give us much or answer the question. So it's really up to you. You know, put some effort in and, you know, that'll show on our end. And next, do we get a list of potential locations, health departments, so we can research them if we would want to work there? So if you're talking about relocating, yes. If you are very open to like many different locations, if you're very open with your interests, basically I look at our list of potential host sites and try to see what might be a good match. Usually I can give a couple options, and you got it exactly right. We really want you to think about which option would work best for you as far as, you know, location, projects. We want you to think about the whole experience. So yes, if you are very open to relocating, open to different kinds of projects, it's likely that we might have a couple options for you if you are a top candidate.
I see one here about relocation. Is the relocation paid? With the only requirement the intern is responsible to secure a spot. So the answer to this one is that, so yes, the intern is responsible for determining where they are going to live during those 10 to 12 weeks and securing those accommodations, with the base financial support of $6,000 for undergraduates, $8,000 for graduates. You know, we do expect that that is going to help you pay for your accommodations, and the additional relocation assistance would be for, you know, like Nora had to get out from Colorado all the way over to Oregon. So that additional assistance helped, you know, could have helped cover mileage, or if you have to do flights or things like that. So to answer the question, it's the intern's responsibility to find and secure housing during their internship. But as we said, there are a lot of ways that you can find help with this from your host site, internet searches, things like that. Hopefully that answers that one. Do you get a mentor through NEHA? So that's a really great question. So of course, you will have your host site mentor at your host site, your primary mentor. Nora and Emily can probably attest to the fact that there were many people that mentored them during their internships, not just one. And at NEHA, you will have Jennifer and I's support. If there are additional things that are needed from NEHA, we're happy to help connect folks. And we also have our career mentorship program, where we connect NEPHIP interns with graduates of our Environmental Health Leadership Academy. And those folks are located all over the nation. And so really those are virtual get-togethers where students can come ask questions of those folks about things like, how do I find a job? You know, what are environmental health managers looking for on resumes when they're hiring? What kind of certifications do you think a student should have going into looking for a job? So I don't think there's any lack of contacts and mentorship during the internship. And Jennifer and I are always available to help guide you, answer questions, all of that stuff during the internship. Even though we aren't the ones that are working with you on a daily basis, we are still very available to help.
We have a question. Can we ask TAs for letters of recommendation, or does it have to be a professor? If it's a TA for one of your environmental health classes, I would say that's fine. We really just want to have a recommendation from someone who can speak to your abilities and knowledge in environmental health. So if that's a TA, that's fine. Usually professors are more than happy to give recommendations. What we don't want is, a letter of recommendation from, a manager, at your other job at like Target or something. Like they don't know your abilities in environmental health or things like that. So I would say yes, that is acceptable. Let's see. We have a question for Nora. How was your experience with writing for the newspaper, or the News of Oregon?
I would say it was really fun, especially the harmful algal blooms project that I wrote about. I got to learn a lot more about like what's going on locally in Oregon, targeting that because it's also a huge problem in
Uh-oh.
Colorado. So that was a ton of fun, especially because deaths and harmful algal. And the OSHA one was also a ton of fun because not a lot of people know much about OSHA. So yeah, overall, I'd say I learned a lot getting to write those.
Awesome. Thanks, Nora. Okay, next question. Is internship compensation given periodically throughout the internship? That is a yes. So that's a great question. So for those amounts, so $6,000 for undergraduates, $8,000 for graduates, we split that up into 3 parts. So, you'll get it twice during the internship, kind of evenly spaced out, and then you'll get the last third after you have successfully completed all the requirements of the program. So all of your hours, the offboarding presentation, completing our evaluation survey, giving us your deliverables. So yes, it is split up into 3 separate payments.
However, the relocation allowance is at the very beginning. So we recognize that, if someone is relocating temporarily for the summer, that they do need some of that upfront support. So we definitely recognize that and help to work with students' unique circumstances too. All right. How much coursework will we need to have completed before we can apply? So students need to be considered a sophomore, junior, senior, undergraduate, or graduate student before they can apply. And our eligibility states that they need to have completed a good amount of environmental health coursework. So for this one, we do definitely look at your transcript to see that you have taken some courses in basic environmental health and some of those introductory courses. I would say that our recommendation would be, we want you to have some of those courses so that you're going into your internship with a strong foundation in environmental health. And that's going to help you interact better during the internship with your project and with the other experiences that you're getting to do. So if you're a sophomore and you're not quite sure if you have enough environmental health courses yet to apply, I guess my recommendation would be to potentially wait until you do have a few more courses under your belt, because we generally offer fall, spring, and summer internship opportunities. So, even if you aren't able to apply for summer, maybe you could apply for spring 2027 or summer 2027. So the answer to this one is we don't have a set number because we know that every program is different. Sometimes the programs have you take all of your elective courses first, and then you start working into your environmental health courses. Some students take environmental health courses earlier. So we don't have a set number for that, but I would recommend that you have taken at least some basic introductory environmental health courses before you apply. So hopefully that answers that one.
We have kind of a follow-up question to that. So I'm taking environmental health courses throughout this year that will be finished before summer, but not many finish prior to the application. Could I mention this in the application somehow? You can absolutely mention it in the application, like essay questions if you'd like, but usually with the unofficial transcript that is a requirement of the application, it also lists what courses you're currently taking and what courses you have signed up for. So usually I can kind of see what courses you'll be having until, the next session. But if you're worried or unsure if it's there, you're more than welcome to mention it somewhere else.
And we definitely do take that into account because we know if you're applying right now, it's still fall, you're applying for summer, you have a whole nother semester that you might be taking all environmental health classes. So we definitely do take that into account. Great question. All right. Well, it looks like we do have one more question just since we have Nora and Emily here, but if anyone has any other questions about NEPHIP, please drop them in, or you can always ask us later. Nora and Emily, do you have any ideas about how to connect with high school or other students, and really what got you interested in environmental health and how did you find out about it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, as far as connecting with high schoolers, Colorado State does a ton of involvement with local high schools. We do a lot of like STEM events to make people more aware about environmental health. We also do a lot of like elementary school outreach too, which is super fun. And I got super interested in environmental public health through my stepmom, who works at NEHA, because I had no idea what environmental health was before, and I was interested in changing my major. So that got me really excited about it. I'm also on the board for the Environmental Health Student Association at CSU. So we'll plan a bunch of like community outreach events. So I'd say like those kind of things are like what got me the most involved with environmental health.
For me, I did science fair in middle school and high school, and that's kind of where I didn't know that the name of it was like environmental health, but I did a water quality project and crops project with crops and like their disease resistance. So I did a lot of that in high school and middle school and science fair. And then when I was looking for majors for college, I was scrolling through the different majors that OU offers and like seeing that their different descriptions. And I noticed that environmental health, it said how environmental factors influence like our environment around us, like people's health, homes, community health. And I was like, that's what I did in my science fair projects. So beyond science fair, like Nora said, like outreach is nice. My high school didn't have like this the STEM program where like the health department would visit, but county fairs, the health department would table and different stuff like that. But I think just encouraging high school students to get involved in like science fair or join webinars or something like that, and they can kind of discover what they're interested in.
Awesome. Thanks. I think that would be a really cool opportunity for an intern who's with the health department to then go into high school or elementary school and talk to students about what they're doing since they're actually in school. So awesome. Well, we want to thank everyone so much for being here to learn about the program. We are more than happy to answer any questions via email. Just hit us up at nephip@neha.org. Nora, Emily, thank you so much for being here. It was really great to hear you share about your experiences, and hopefully that helped other students who might be interested in applying. So we really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. It was a pleasure to join.
Well, with that, we will go ahead and end it, but thank you everyone for your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.